Apologies, I thought you were going through rubbish with that. Gianna had a proud smile, not realizing she was making a mistake that would later be serious. I'm Clara, 29 years old, working as a seamstress at a studio dealing with movie, wedding dress, and modeling costumes. The studio's costumes range from fancy historical pieces to everyday clothes for modern shows. My role includes adjusting the designs to fit the era and sizing them for the actors. I also mend any damage from filming. While my main task is fixing clothes, my real expertise lies in sewing. I picked up needlework from my mother when I was young, making this job my true passion. The costumes in the studio range from fancy historical outfits to regular clothes used in modern TV shows. My job is to adjust the designs to fit the time period and size them for the actors. I also fix any damage from filming. Although my main task is repairing clothes, my real skill is sewing. I learned it from my mom when I was young, and it turned out to be my true passion. My daily routine involves handling clothes and using sewing machines and irons. Despite the unpredictable hours and sometimes difficult requests, I enjoy my job and plan to stick with it. I met my husband Joseph at this studio. He took care of the actors. We're 4 years apart, and since we saw each other every day, our connection naturally grew over 3 years. After meeting amidst our busy schedules, we eventually got married and started our new life together. However, just as this new chapter began, my mother suddenly fell ill and passed away, leading Joseph and me to postpone our wedding. Originally, we had planned a simple ceremony at a local church with just family. The delay prompted us to save up for a proper wedding and honeymoon. Due to our irregular work schedules, we thought it was wasteful to rent a house just for sleeping. To save for the wedding and honeymoon, Joseph and I began living with his mother, Gianna, at his family home. I lost my father early, and coincidentally, Joseph had a similar experience. With my mother gone, Joseph worried about his mother living alone. Although I wanted to get along with Gianna, looking back, that was the beginning of a nightmare. Gianna had no intention of getting along with me. In her eyes, I was no different from a thief who had stolen her son. As soon as we moved in, the harassment began. If I cleaned, Gianna would criticize, saying, "What is this? It's so dirty here, there, and over there." I wonder what kind of upbringing you had. Your parents must have been quite something. I endured the harassment, trying to keep up with the cleaning, even causing my hands to crack and bleed. The strictness regarding household chores was unimaginable, covering everything from cleaning to laundry to cooking. If anything was even slightly unsatisfactory, no matter how tired I was, the criticism continued. I used to endure a lot from Gianna. If she didn't like how I did something, she would make me do it again, acting like it was no big deal. The more tired I was, the worse the criticism got. No matter how perfectly I did a task, she would always find a flaw. I remember spending the whole night scrubbing the sink. It felt like she was displeased with everything about me. Gianna insisted that I do all the household chores. Struggling to balance work and chores, I eventually arranged to work from home. However, this only made Gianna's demands increase. Every day, it felt like I was Cinderella, slaving over household tasks. "Is the laundry done? The curtain upstairs is torn. Fix it." "You're good at sewing, aren't you?" Gianna would say. "I apologize, but I have some important work to attend to urgently. Can we address the curtain matter over the weekend?" I requested. Gianna, however, replied, "What do you mean? Leaving it as is might lead to gossip from the neighbors. Please resolve it immediately." I discovered that I was juggling housework and my job, or you could say, trying to get my tasks done while handling household chores. There were instances when I had to work late into the night because the house tasks kept piling up. Gianna appeared to take pleasure in seeing me getting tired. It felt like she enjoyed teasing me, especially when Joseph wasn't present during the day. Our dynamic seemed more like that of a boss and a maid. I ended up taking care of all the household responsibilities. I used to take pride in being independent, finding it difficult to open up to Joseph about my feelings. I always made an effort to fulfill my responsibilities, and besides the physical exertion of daily tasks, there was an added mental strain. On certain occasions, Gianna would invite neighbors over for lunch, presenting a real challenge. In the presence of guests, Gianna would become even more demanding, and during their conversations, I caught snippets of criticism directed at me. They would remark, "She's not a good daughter-in-law. I have to guide her every day. My son may not see it, but I'm not fooled. She's just not pleasant and lacks common sense." I heard the neighbors laughing, and I joined in as if I agreed, thinking, who's really lacking common sense here? Once the chores are done, they're done, but their unkind words weigh heavily on my heart. Honestly, every day felt like I was getting closer to my breaking point. If this kept up, I feared I might lose my sanity. However, that wasn't the end of it. Joseph has an older sister, Ella, who is 31. Ella lived with her boyfriend in a nearby town, and if I were to describe Ella in one word, it'd be stingy. She would come to eat lunch at our house almost every day, probably to save money. The worst part was her unannounced visits, as I never knew when she would show up. Whenever she was about to visit, I couldn't prepare her share of the meal in advance. She would casually eat my food and claim ownership of everything. All her belongings at our place and even at her parents' house were considered hers. She would simply take anything she found in the house. It became challenging. "I'm running out of tissues. I'll take these," she'd say. "But, Ella, I bought those for Gianna," I'd explain. In return, I'd receive a stern look and a remark like, "What are you talking about? You're always home, aren't you? Just go buy more." Like mother, like daughter. It's a wonder how Joseph turned out so well. The major issue arose when she would help herself to dinner ingredients without asking. Every time, I had to pause my chores and rush to the store again. One day, I couldn't take it anymore. I gathered the courage to speak up. "Could you please let me know before you take something, Ella?" Apparently, she informed Gianna about it. The next thing I knew, Gianna confronted me. "Did you tell Ella not to come over anymore?" I was taken aback. No, I didn't say that. Caught between Ella's lies and Gianna's cruelty, dealing with Gianna alone was tough. When the two of them teamed up, the mental burden became overwhelming. One day, as I passed by the room where they were talking, I overheard them speaking loud enough for me to hear. It's like having a free maid. How nice. "I'm jealous. Send her to my house too." I couldn't help but wonder, am I just a maid? What about being a daughter-in-law? I had envisioned myself in a different role. Being labeled as a maid was one thing, but hearing it spoken aloud was too much to bear. Something inside me snapped that night, and I finally opened up to Joseph. "I can't do this anymore. I've been patient, but I can't live with Gianna any longer. Please, I want to live somewhere else." After a moment of silence, Joseph responded, "Okay, we've saved enough money. Let's move out soon." I was relieved, and he added, "Really? I'll start looking for a place right away." Tears of relief streamed down my face. Unbeknownst to us, Gianna was actually standing just outside our room, and we were completely unaware that this would later result in her odd actions. From that point onward, the previously gloomy days unexpectedly started to become more cheerful. I had a dream I wished to wear a wedding dress that I crafted with my own hands for my big day. Since sewing was my expertise, I purchased a significant amount of fabric online and chose to dedicate myself to creating the dress as my newfound goal. That was my determination. I began stitching the dress quietly in my room, trying to keep it a secret from Gianna and Ella. However, one day, Ella, who frequently visited without notice, discovered me. "What's this dress?" she exclaimed. "It's amazing to have a dress that's just yours, Clara. I'm tying the knot in 3 months, and I'd be thrilled if you could design my dress. Renting feels like spending unnecessarily, and I'm aiming to keep the wedding expenses down." Ella, who's always on the lookout for budget-friendly options, suggested I make it. Despite some initial hesitation, I agreed, considering she'd take care of the material expenses. I began working on Ella's gown well in advance because our wedding was quite a way off. Ella instructed me to keep it hush-hush from Mom. It appeared she intended to inform Gianna that she was only borrowing the dress and was counting on some financial assistance. Despite the money she gave me for materials, she was set on getting it back. I must say, her careful spending was quite remarkable. I talked to Joseph about it, and he mentioned Sis never gives up when she makes up her mind. I apologize, but it would be really great if you could help her out. Feeling optimistic, I happily agreed, saying, "Sure thing. I'll give it my best shot." The thought of getting paid kept me motivated. I saw it as a valuable opportunity to practice making a dress without having to spend money on materials. Additionally, I held a small hope that this experience could lead to some improvement. While navigating my connection with Ella, I immersed myself in crafting dresses alongside handling household chores and my primary job. Even my friend Gianna seemed to notice my efforts, occasionally glancing into my room. Ella's wedding was approaching fast, and the dress was almost complete. Then, one day, Gianna entered my room with a smile and commented, "You're putting in a lot of effort today. Aren't you feeling tired?" "Yes, a little," I responded. Her abrupt shift in mood was unsettling. "I'm planning to brew some tea. How about you take a break?" she proposed. "Sure, that sounds nice. Thanks a lot." "No problem at all. I'll bring it to you in a bit." "Thanks a bunch. I'm glad to help," I conveyed my appreciation. As Gianna left with a tune on her lips, a peculiar discomfort crept over me. It was uncommon for Gianna to prepare tea for me. Could there be a darker motive behind this gesture? Various thoughts raced through my mind, but fretting seemed pointless. Opting to refocus, I returned to my work. As I delicately added the final lace touches, the completion of Ella's dress was near. Although the dress belonged to Ella, I found myself infusing it with affection. Abruptly, the aroma of tea drifted in. A knock on the door from Gianna prompted my curiosity, and I opened it to learn more about her intentions. In the next moment, I was surprised when Gianna walked in with a tray stacked high with cups and saucers, all filled with tea. Wait, it wasn't just for two, it seemed like she was getting ready for a party. The tray was so heavy that her arms trembled. Instinctively, I moved to stop her from coming in further. Oops! Gianna pretended to trip, and the sound of cups breaking and tea splashing echoed in the room. For a moment, I couldn't understand what had happened. Everything felt like it was in slow motion. Looking down, my yellow dress was stained, resembling a giraffe pattern. I involuntarily screamed. I didn't miss the brief smile on Gianna's face. "Oh no, I'm so sorry. It wasn't on purpose." "Did you get burned?" Gianna said, feigning concern. "Wait, is that a dress? I thought you were going through trash." I was speechless. The shock of her actions left me frozen. Then Gianna pretended to be concerned again, saying, "Oh dear, you can't have your wedding like this, can you?" My suspicions turned into certainty. Gianna was trying to sabotage our wedding. Her plan was to ruin our arrangements to move out after the wedding. I couldn't afford to be angry at the moment. In a hurry, I rushed to the bathroom carrying the dress with tea stains, desperately attempting to wash them off. I was aware that the stains could become permanent if I didn't act swiftly. Gianna watched with a sinister smile. "Require assistance?" she inquired. "No, I'm good," I retorted icily, feeling a mix of anger and panic. Unexpectedly, someone appeared behind Gianna. "What's happening? Are you picking on Clara once more?" Ella questioned. "No, I accidentally messed up her dress with tea," Gianna explained, seemingly finding it amusing. The situation suddenly shifted. "Seriously? That's my dress. Hold on, what?" Gianna was left stunned. "Yours, Ella? What are you saying? I can't believe this. She was making my dress. What am I going to do? My wedding is just a week away." Ella was in shock, and Gianna started to panic like never before. As I listened to their absurd conversation, I kept washing the dress I'd been crafting for months, meant for my sister-in-law Ella. It dawned on me that I hadn't mentioned it was for her. Gianna might have assumed the dress was for me, leading her to purposefully spill tea on it. Joseph and I intended to move out after the wedding, and to Gianna, I was like the sneaky cat stealing away her dear son. She couldn't stand the idea of her son going away with the woman she saw as just a servant. To prevent the wedding and make sure her son stayed at home, she tried to ruin our plans. These small-minded thoughts drove her to do strange things. Angry and pointing fingers at Gianna, Ella lashed out, yelling, "Why would you do such a thing? Everything is a mess now. I'm shocked that my own mom messed up my wedding." "I apologize, Ella. Please forgive me. I had no idea it was your gown." "You don't think I did it intentionally, right?" Gianna finally opened up about her real feelings. As I listened, I acted like I didn't hear and kept washing the dress. Suddenly, a man's voice chimed in. "Did you think it was Claire's dress and purposely stained it?" Everyone turned to look. "Oh, Joseph, when did you arrive?" Mom inquired. Joseph stood in silence, his face showing an expression that words couldn't capture. I was busy washing the dress and paying attention to the argument, completely unaware of Joseph's timely arrival. He had quietly watched the heated dispute between his mother and sister. Gradually, Joseph spoke with a look of profound disappointment. "You witnessed Clara putting in so much effort on that dress every night, and still, you purposely stained it. That's truly. It's different than you think, Joseph." "Please, no excuses," Gianna yelled. Ella was surprised. Gianna, especially, had likely never expected her son, whom she loved dearly, to raise his voice. Joseph spoke with calm sadness. "I'm let down, Mom. Clara has been enduring your behavior all this while, and we both wished that someday you'd change. Clara showed patience for my sake, because you're my mom." Upon hearing this, tears welled up within me. I had previously perceived Joseph as indecisive and overly submissive to his mother, but that perception was entirely mistaken. Before me stood a resolute man prepared to defend the woman he loved. Joseph's unwavering determination, though seemingly out of context in the situation, reignited my admiration for him. He continued to address Gianna, saying, "This is the crux of it all. I can't just ignore it, Mom. I'm sorry, but Claire and I are leaving this place as soon as we can. I intended to stay until the wedding for your sake, but I can't prolong my stay any further. This time, it was only a dress, but who knows what might happen next? Clara could be at risk in the future. It'll be too late then, Mom." "Danger? I would never want to put her in danger." "How can you say that after ruining Clara's hard work so casually?" Joseph's frustration was evident, but rather than resorting to harsh words or a domineering demeanor, he calmly expressed his displeasure towards Gianna. His face revealed the depth of his emotions. I saw a whole new set of emotions that I hadn't seen before, anger mixed with a sadness that's hard to put into words. He strongly denied everything about his mother, who had always showered him with love. Gianna seemed deeply affected, unable to speak and reduced to tears. Usually quick with sharp remarks, now she was in tears. Ella, too, was shocked, shifting her gaze between Joseph and Gianna. Later on, Ella had to call off her upcoming wedding, losing all the money she had paid. Gianna, who had covered the expenses, insisted that Ella wasn't at a loss. In return, Ella blamed Gianna for the breakup that followed her sudden cancellation, causing frustration for her boyfriend and his family. Gianna, filled with apparent remorse, understood the outcomes of her careless deeds that had taken a wrong turn. The emotional blow from her son's scolding left her feeling vulnerable. The problem didn't just stay within our home, it also affected Ella's relationship. After moving out of the family home, Gianna would sometimes reach out to us, seeking financial help. One of the reasons she hesitated to let us go was money-related. When we lived together, we shared the costs of running the household, but Gianna didn't have any income other than her pension. It seemed like she had been depending on our financial assistance. Nevertheless, whenever Gianna asked Joseph for money, he declined. "Mom, why not have a job? Many jobs are out there and we should all be self-reliant, you and us. Please don't leave us by ourselves," Gianna begged, not wanting to feel deserted. But Joseph stood his ground. His commitment appeared to stem from a feeling of responsibility. After some time, Gianna took up a job as a janitor. Her careful approach to cleaning seemed to be a good fit for the position, adding a touch of irony to the situation. Following her breakup with her boyfriend and departure from their shared apartment, Ella moved back in with Gianna. She decided to quit her job altogether, depending on Gianna's part-time earnings and pension. The last time I saw her, she had gained a significant amount of weight and was barely recognizable. Joseph and I have settled into a new apartment, savoring the joy of our happy life. No one around to make snide comments or be sarcastic. It's truly peaceful compared to our previous time.